Okay, welcome back to the Parade Lap with me, Jerisha, and Sophie. And we're going to be bringing you, I guess, our race reaction and podium from the Japanese Grand Prix. Let's see if we have three moments for our podium, Sophie, because I mean, just my immediate reaction for that race is it was quite a boring race.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I think I feel especially after how exciting, the season opener was at Melbourne, obviously, and you were
hmm
trackside for that, and it was
hmm
so much of stuff happened in that race. When you look back on that and even China, this just feels like, ah, meh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They can't all be super exciting, but
I
yeah,
know.
I thought a little bit more would happen. In terms of passing, I thought we would have seen a little bit more action,
Hmm.
but it's okay. The next one will be good.
Oh, we hope so. I don't know if I should say this, but I literally fell asleep watching it because it
Well,
was
it was
really,
early in the
it
morning.
was really early in the morning. So I don't know about you, but I woke up and then I put it on, and then
hmm
as I was watching it, I fell asleep. And then when
hmm
I woke up again, and I was like, oh, did I even miss anything? Because it looked exactly the same order, everybody was the
Yeah,
same, and I was like, oh
yeah,
no, the laps have actually passed. So.
yeah.
Yeah, that actually happened with this one. So hopefully going forward they're going to be more exciting than that. But I guess we can maybe go into your podium of the Japanese Grand Prix. So maybe start us off,
Cool.
Sophie, with your P3.
My P3 was that Mercedes, they're doing really well. I think maybe at the start of the season or when it was announced that Kimi was going to be taking Lewis's seat, I sort of didn't know what to think about him. I knew he was good in Formula Two. He's like right next to George Russell, and George is doing really well as well. So I think Mercedes is just like going to keep cruising, like kind of. They're not like stealing the center of attention or anything. They're just there doing well. So yeah, I think my number three is that Mercedes is just kind of they're cruising through and doing pretty well.
I mean, I agree. Also, it's so interesting because I listened to our race predictions again this recently, and
hmm
neither of us put them in our constructors,
No,
or
exactly.
or even bothered about the drivers in our
Yeah.
top five drivers. We were all about like McLaren and Ferrari and Red Bull, and completely discounted them. I think in a way, at least for
Mm,
me, after like Lewis left, I was like, okay, well, like Lewis was my driver there, and yeah, no, I agree. And we also
yeah.
mentioned the fact that like, George was on the previous episode, like, he was finished P3
Mm,
twice at Australia and China, and just somehow he did finish P3 twice, right? Yeah, it was
yeah.
like, oh yeah, George
Yeah.
was there. So he just managed to do that. Or almost like very unassuming, I
Yes.
don't think
Yeah.
people have really like thought about them too much, but yeah, I agree. So
Yeah. Unassuming is a very good way to describe it, I think, because it's a pleasant surprise. It's just they're there. It's like, oh, good on you. That's
yeah,
cool.
wasn't really expected.
Yeah.
Um, so my P3 is I started seeing a little bit of maybe like McLaren team tension potentially in this
Mm,
race. I don't know if you picked up on that too. So at some point, Oscar was, and it was his birthday, which was great. And
yeah.
he was behind Lando, who was behind Max, and he was catching up to Lando. Like he was looking like he was pretty fast, right?
Mm,
Relative to Lando's pace. And Lando wasn't catching up to Max. And his radio message was sort of like, okay, well, I think I could maybe try and attack Max. And, is
yeah.
Lando gonna move faster? Or, like let's just get going. And they sort of said, no, that's Lando's pace. And so he wanted to, sort of get team orders to be able to go
Mm,
in front of Lando and then try and potentially chase Max. Which you would think, like, if Lando wasn't able to, maybe they should have just let him and they could have seen, what would have happened. They would have still ended up with like a 2-3 in the end, but maybe with
yeah.
some hope. But they didn't do it. So they didn't swap them. And I thought that was interesting. Um,
Mm,
and then it made me think, because at the end, when they showed the constructors and the driver standings after that, Lando's ahead of Max in the championship. I know we're only 3 races in, but by 1 point. So he
Yeah,
is so it's a McLaren Lando top by 1 point. And if Lando had been third, he would not have been beating Max by 1 point, and
yeah,
he wouldn't have been number one on the drivers' table. So I just was like wondering if that was them trying to also make sure that they are like supporting Lando early, or just making sure that at least one of their drivers is at the top of the table, even if it's by 1 point, just from like an optics point of view.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. They're
that
definitely thinking about the points. Yeah, it's still interesting because they say like they don't really have a number one driver. So yeah, you're right. How it's like you can sort of sense a little bit of tension around it.
mm,
I don't think it's going to be like a big deal because I think they're both relatively cruisy guys. But yeah, it'll be when it's closer to the end where they might get a little bit nasty to each other, maybe.
it just gave me like PTSD or flashbacks to, was it the Hungarian race last year where yeah, where
Mm,
Lando, they needed Oscar to pass Lando and he didn't really want to do it, and there was all of
yeah,
that drama afterwards. So yeah, it was just interesting, that one, but let's see how that unfolds with
yeah.
the two of them. Yeah.
My next one, I don't know which one I want as my top one. I'm gonna lock in my second one as in the cool down room. Oscar was an absolute legend, and he said, "Is that all the highlights?" Like he said something like we were going flat out, and that's all they have to show for it. Like that's crazy. I loved that. It was so honest because everyone was sort of thinking about it, and I was listening to the F1 TV commentary for it. So it was like Jolyon Palmer at the end, and he was like, "Well, he's an honest guy, isn't he?" Like we're all kind of thinking it. Yeah, I found that really entertaining. That was probably the most entertaining part of the race was Oscar at the end saying that it was boring.
Is that your number two? Because I feel like
That's my number
my
two.
number two is pretty similar to your number two, but it's related
Hmm.
because it's from the cool down room too, where
Hmm.
Lando and Max were there, and Max was saying to Lando like, that's a really expensive lawnmower. To
Yeah.
that picture, playback of what happened with Max and him exiting the pits.
Yeah.
So that was like the only exciting thing really that happened, was where,
Yeah.
Max pitted and he took a slightly longer pit stop, and then Lando was at the front and, you know, maybe could have gotten in front of Max, and that could have changed a lot of stuff. So he was really trying to, obviously cut ahead or like push in.
Mm,
But Max just held his line, and then, just the radio commentary with Lando being like, he pushed me off, and
yeah.
Max being like, he drove himself like into the grass, that was it.
Yeah. He told
So
him off straight away.
yeah, that was it.
Mm,
So yeah, and that was from the cool down room too. So that
yeah.
was
I did see a good meme like related to that. That was it was on TikTok and it was a carousel of like McLaren as a lawn mowing business. And it was a photo of Lando there in this race, clipping the grass. And then it was like Oscar on the grass in Australia. And it was like, yeah, just that they were lawn mowers at this point, which is crazy because like it's funny. But they're doing very well considering they're calling themselves like lawn mowers.
mm-hmm,
Mm,
mm-hmm.
they're still getting podiums.
Exactly. I mean, lawnmower for Lando in this race, and tractor. They're referring to Max obviously driving this tractor, but
Yes.
driving it
Yeah.
home for the win, obviously. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was my number two. Just that little scene that ended up happening this race.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. My number one goes on to that a little bit, relates to it. I have just written Max is the man. He was just so, so good. I think the bit I enjoyed most of him doing so well this weekend was him properly celebrating. Like after he got the pole position, I think that's among the happiest he's ever sounded on the like he was just like really, really happy and it was cool because I mean, other times he just goes, "Oh, that was lovely." Like, and it's really cool when he does that because that's just his thing. But listening to him truly get into it and be like, "Yes," like that was quite special, I thought. And then for him to follow it up with a win as well, you could just see how much it meant to him. And I think it was quite cool how he like dedicated it, kind of. to Honda, and it being their last race with Honda as the engine supplier in Suzuka. So it was really cool, and I must say that it was somewhat comforting hearing the national anthem again, the Dutch national anthem.
Oh,
At the end of it,
Sophie,
I know,
no,
I
no,
know,
don't say that.
I know, but it was sort of like when you rewatch like a comfort show and the theme song comes on and you
No.
think like, oh yeah, this was a good one, sort of thing. That's what it made me feel like. So I just think good on him. It was cool. And Fernando's also was like a fanboy over Max, saying like he's just, kind of the best. No one else could have done that. It was just cool to
Mm.
watch. Yeah, so I just think it was like a nice weekend for him, which I enjoyed
Yeah, no, Max, that it was so unexpected also. Like,
a little bit.
if you'd asked me, I just did like again, maybe a little bit like the Mercedes thing where I just like but not unassuming. It was almost like I just discounted the fact that Max
Mm,
could get pole and that he could end up winning because the
mm,
McLarens just seem so strong.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean that was really great, and I agree with you. I also like his radio message at the end. You could hear like I guess more emotion in Max's voice than you're
Mm,
used to, and obviously it means quite a lot.
yeah.
Um, and I think also, I mean, we can touch on this maybe after our podiums, unless it's my number one. But there was so much more drama leading up to this race than the race itself, with obviously Liam and Yuki and the second Red Bull seat. And so
Mhm.
that was like the focus of discussion, and
Yeah.
maybe that's also why there was so much of focus on that second seat that it was like not
Hmm.
really focused on like Max and the fact that he could win going
That's a
into
good
it.
point.
So
Mm.
yeah, it was just like, okay. So no, he did really well. But I can't believe you said that it was like comforting to hear the anthem again, because I feel like
I
you
know.
forgot the 2023 season where
I
you're
know.
like the only winner, I think, apart from like Carlos or like
Yeah.
Perez was Max. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess that season was kind of like binge watching the Comfort TV show. Or it's watching it for the first time and you think, oh, I kind of like this.
Yeah.
And then now we're at the point where we're rewatching it.
Yeah.
But only once in a while.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just kind of liked
Yeah.
it.
So my number one is sort of a little bit like your number three. My number one
Hmm.
was Kimi. Like, well done,
Mm.
Kimi Antonelli. I was really happy for him because, he at some point he was leading the race, and that was like,
Yes.
oh, brilliant. We've got like a new race leader. Obviously, while the other guys were doing their pit stops and he hadn't pitted, but he led the race, and he set the fastest lap, and he's the youngest person, I think, ever in F1
Yeah.
to have led a race, and he took that from Max. And I saw that today that he managed to do that like 4 days earlier than Max. So this was
Mm.
like his one chance where he could have taken that record, and he did.
Mm.
And I think he's also the youngest person to set a fastest lap, potentially,
Cool.
although I might be wrong with
Mm.
that one.
What do you think about there not being a bonus point for the fastest lap now? Because the commentators always talk about like they mention it all the time, like, oh, this is the fastest lap, because people
Mm.
like to know that anyway. But then they say, well, unfortunately, there's no points for it this season. And I've heard it multiple times every broadcast. Do you think there should be a point for it?
They did have it as a point last season.
Last
Yeah.
season they
And I
did. This
remember
is the
it
first time
was
they've
like,
taken it away.
yeah, I feel like they should have it. It's quite fun. Although remember there was a
Hmm.
race where Danny Rick like he took the fastest lap, and that like kind of it was when it was not that close, but it was
Yeah.
every point kind of counted for Lando
Yeah.
as he was trying, and he took that one away from
Yeah.
him. So yeah, I guess it can make a difference. Yeah, I think it's fun. I think they should have kept
Hmm.
it really.
Because then, like Kimmy, I mean, he's doing well, getting the
Yeah.
points anyway. But then he would have got a bonus one. Like yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It's like you could have won this, but
Yeah.
you don't get anything. Maybe they should get something else instead. If not a point, they should get like like how driver of the day. Eventually, they get a little trophy if they win the most driver of the days, or like rule the grid, they get a trophy. Even like the pole position. I mean, that's a bigger thing, but they get to keep the little tire. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I feel like they need a little bonus point, something.
It should count
Fastest lap.
towards something. Yeah, totally. I
Mm,
do. The other thing with Kimmy though is that he's also he scored points in all three races.
mhm.
So And the only other, I think the last person to do that was Lewis Hamilton in his rookie year, where in his first three races, he managed to score points in like all three
Mm,
races. So
wow.
yeah, that was a really big one for Kimmy. And he was also, I thought it was sweet on the radio where they said something to him and they were like, oh, I think you got the fastest lap, or I think that was it. And then he was like, oh, I'm giving it like my everything, like he was
Yeah,
really like passionate about it. And so, yeah, he's only 18 and that really is brilliant. Like, if he
crazy.
continues like that, I mean, he could be a really great driver. I mean, he's already doing really well, but sort of, I guess, what Toto wants, which is a future world champion.
Yeah, yeah, I think he's going to be a really good one to watch because he's doing well. I feel like George is definitely the lead driver, but in terms of like the PR and everything as well, George is like the front man. But in a way, I wonder if he's maybe going to get a little bit nervous because Kimmy's doing maybe better than expected.
I'm getting, I mean, I don't know there's so many rumors in F1. But I don't know if you heard it too, Sophie. Well, I mean, so I think this is a fact that George's contract is up for renewal or comes to an
Mm,
end this season. So I don't think they've
mm-hmm,
officially confirmed that they're renewing it.
mm,
And there's all these rumors going around about Toto wanting Max. And
mm-hmm.
so
Did hear that.
yeah. And then I've seen some pictures of like Max with Kimmy and like potentially looking at like having the two of them together. So I don't
Mm,
know, but it does look like Kimmy's future is bright at the moment
I think
compared.
so.
I mean, he's standing out from the rookies that we have on the grid.
Yeah, yeah. And the other one that's doing very well, I'm very happy for
Mm,
him, is Hedger. He's
yeah,
so
me
cool.
too. Yeah.
He's just doing so well. And I love the TikToks and stuff they make with him. Like he just seems like apart from Melbourne being a heartbreaking thing for him, he's just bounced back so well. Like his arc of recovery has been so good. And he just seems to be making the most of the experience, which is great to see. And it just, I don't know, he carries himself well and he's doing very well. So he's cool to watch.
He is because I mean that was such a low. Like he started the
Mm,
season, in like the worst possible way. So much of scrutiny on him as he was having this really low moment. And then yeah, like you said, he's like bounced back and is just,
mm,
he scored his first points in Formula One this Grand Prix. And yeah, I also think and he's quite like not hard on himself, but I heard him after qualifying, or I think it was where he said, oh, he still, he could have done better. And then
mm,
after this race, he was saying, no, that was like he gave it everything and he was pleased with his performance. So that was good.
mm,
Um, but then that touches on well, after Max, he was the best out of Liam. Everybody's focused on Liam and Yuki, obviously, and there's Isaac
mm-hmm.
who got the points.
Yeah. Yeah, good on him. There's been quite a few memes saying that Hadjar will be the next the next one to take the seat in a few races time. Um, yeah, I don't think Liam or Yuki did particularly bad. I just think Max was really good, and Zach had a really good run as well. The second seat debate is a sad topic, I think.
Oh, it's like the biggest topic of the week, Sophie. But I know,
I
yeah, because
know, I know.
obviously in the predictions you said, you mentioned that you
Yeah,
felt like Liam would be a standout and
yeah,
Max's teammate, and so yeah, that's
yeah.
has not panned out.
I'm disappointed for him, but like it's not like he's not in Formula One anymore. Like
Mm,
I still think he's going to do very well. And now he is in the easier to drive car. I'm still excited to see what he does, but I think two races, that's crazy business to
I know.
judge someone on two. And I just think it's a shame that so Japan being a track that Liam his results weren't as amazing as I thought they would have been in this past race. But then also like stepping into the car for the first time this season, that's its own challenge. But Japan being a track that he knows very well from Super Formula, I feel like that would have been a race that he could have actually proved himself a bit more, opposed to the two races where he hadn't been there before. And then obviously driving a hard car. But I think because it was Yuki's home race,
Mm.
in terms of the PR for that. They like to emphasize the driver at their home race. So yeah, if his home race wasn't the Japanese Grand Prix, or if it was in, you know, a different time, I think it would have they would have maybe given Liam a little bit longer. Um, yeah, it would have been interesting,
Yeah.
but we'll go with it. I think Liam will do well, and I think Yuki will do quite well. I think we might see maybe a bit more of Yuki's temper come back. If it's frustrating to drive that car, because he seemed to have mellowed out a little bit
Yeah.
when he was in B carb, and he did really well last year. But yeah, we might see a few more flare ups. But in a race that's boring like this one, I mean, that would be kind of good. Some interesting radio snippets.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
thought Yuki did pretty well in, I think when I just saw the practice results, like he was
Mm,
doing, and then his qualifying was way worse than I thought, given how his practice sessions went. So I think
mm,
he just qualified quite badly, but he managed to end up in P12. So, obviously he's not in the points, but he wasn't that far off. So I think that was
yeah.
pretty decent.
Yeah.
For him, and then hopefully he can improve from there. Uh,
Mm,
and I think probably the thing with Liam is he's next to Isaac, who's also like a rookie, I
mm,
guess. And Isaac's doing really well, so it
mm.
feels he's bounced back, and I guess if he continues on that form, I wonder. Well, it'd be interesting to just see. I feel like so much of this is going to just be a mental thing potentially for Liam. Is like, how do you
I
get
think so.
your confidence back and deal with this, and then now if you're in in a team where somebody else is outperforming you or doing really well, that's also not amazing. So that, I guess, that
Mm,
will be an interesting sort of like team dynamic to look at.
I
um
think so.
but the other team, I think the one thing I was kind of disappointed in is also Sainz. Carlos has not This has not like
Mm,
unlocked the potential of that. I feel like I had high hopes like for him. I don't know, like going into the Williams, I just thought, and then when you saw that Albon was doing pretty well and getting
mm.
points, I felt like there was performance, and I was hoping that Carlos would do better.
I think he still will.
Mm.
I think he's going to be really good in the Williams. They're probably a little bit surprised that there hasn't been points yet, but I don't think he looks particularly bad or anything. It was quite a costly weekend for him because he got fined for being late to the national anthem.
He did?
Which, yeah, yeah, he was a little bit late because he said he had like an upset stomach or something. So yeah, so he got fined, and now the whole world knows that it was like 20,000 euro. Oh, 20,000 euros, but 10,000 if he doesn't do anything else. Any other infringements, he gets that back, or the team gets that back, or something. Yeah, but an expensive weekend for him.
I know, and then he dropped 3 places in qualifying because he, I think, went in front of Lewis or something like that.
Mm,
So yeah, poor guy.
mm,
Okay, I do. Yeah, Carlos isn't doing terribly. I think I probably just had so I was like, oh, I really wanted him.
yeah.
I felt for him so much when he had to leave Ferrari, and then even when I heard he was going to Williams, I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, no, he can do something with this, and I really want him to. So I hope it
Mm,
changes going forward, and we
me
can see
too.
him like in the top 10. That would be
Yeah.
amazing.
I liked
Um,
I want to say qualifying, I think, when Carlos was on a flying lap and Lewis was in front of him. And yeah, so Lewis was like kind of giving him a tow. And it sort of makes me think, like there's Charles and Ferrari, and then there's Lewis now. But you still look at that car and think that would have been Carlos's car. Same with Mercedes. You look at Kimi's car and you think that it's like Lewis's old car. So
mm,
I kind of wonder when they drive past each other if they maybe think about that a little bit, like it's like they've sold their car and it's driving past them. So when they're on track next to each other, I find that a little bit funny.
I mean, there were so many changes this season anyway, like compared to
Yeah.
previous ones. Yeah, I think those were all the things from we went through our podiums, and then we sort of went off on some of the other interesting things that were happening
Mm.
with Red Bull second seat and the rookies and stuff like that. But anything else worth calling out for the Japanese Grand Prix, or
Um,
just in the news this week with Formula One?
I think some of the media around kind of prior to the Japanese Grand Prix was kind of interesting. So following the Red Bull announcement, which seems like a little bit harsh, some of their media, but I think when there's a driver swap, it's always quite cold when someone leaves. Same like when Logan left Williams
Mm,
last year. Like they don't sort of acknowledge the person leaving. They make it all about the person joining, which I mean, if you were joining, you'd want it to be that way a little bit. But I liked how we saw the drivers and like ex-drivers and things sort of stand up for Liam, not in like a oh he should still have the seat kind of way, but just sort of saying like I hope everyone's like mindful of the situation. And then the one that Max liked, I really liked that. And then I think Pierre and Oscar and quite a few others ended up liking the same post. And one of the reporters asked him Max about it, saying like, "Did you mean to do it?" And he, or was it like an accidental thing? He was like, "No, I mean, like, I meant to like it. I wanted to like it." Like he was just very straight with his answer.
mm.
Um, so I thought some things like that were quite cool. I mean, I guess everyone knows each other and there's just this big understanding, but it's quite nice to see that kind of the people side of it because it sort of seems like quite a cold thing on the outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It does just remind you that this is a business, right? Because when you're saying that, I
definitely.
was just thinking about, like, for example, working in tech or, some of the things I've seen in the past few years, especially with redundancies and, the things that have been going on. And yeah, it can be really cold where it's just like you're
Mm,
in and then you're out. And like you find
yeah.
out, like Meta, like they fired a ton of people or let go of them. And it was just via email, right? Or you just got cut
Mm-hmm.
off and it was like so cold and you're
Mm,
in and then you're out and yeah, I guess these are working environments too, and they can be cold, they can be toxic, it can be very
mm,
political, and there can be loads of things that are going on behind the scenes
mm,
in those companies. um
mm,
yeah, no, I agree. I was just looking at my list and I thought yeah, no, that was it from my side. The only other thing was Ollie Behrman getting a point for Haas. So I was like, well done.
nice.
Well
Yeah.
done on managing to get that point. That I was happy for him.
He's fun to watch, I think. Like he has quite a bit of personality to him when he's driving. Like I don't know, you can kind of just tell it's him in a way.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I quite enjoy watching him.
Yeah, but the other when you're talking about like the driver swaps and all of those things, there is also, I don't know if you also saw it, but there's a lot of talk about Jack Doohan in the
Mm,
Alpine and
hmm
him not like potentially performing, and I think they've got
hmm
Franco Colapinto, right? Like, or Colapinto
hmm
on their reserve driver or what, so,
Yeah.
and he was really good in the Williams last year. So there's
Mm,
also these rumors that, how long are they going to give him before they maybe put Franco in that seat.
mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the thing. Like at this, before the season started, everyone was like, "Jack has 5 races," um, and everyone thought like, "Oh, that's not a long time. Like that's not cool." And then Paul Liam got 2. I mean, that's different that it was a swap, and in Jack's case, people are saying like Jack will be replaced, and they don't have another seat to put him in, kind of thing. But yeah, it's just crazy to think like already that feels so long ago.
Mm.
Um, that people were saying 5 races, like that's not enough. But yeah, I hope Jack does well. His crash was awful. That was scary to watch. That was a bad one. I saw a video of him getting out of the car at the end of the Grand Prix, and he had to be helped out of it. So he must have just been like struggling a lot. And Esteban came over and helped him out, which was quite nice. So
Oh,
Haas has
okay.
had quite a nice run of it
Yeah.
this weekend, I think, because that was quite nice to see. Again, the people side of it. Maybe the kind of emotional aspects of this race stood out more because of like the business related stuff that you just said, that it was quite businessy going into the weekend, and then yeah, you just like Max celebrating the nice things the drivers did, like I just the people, so it was nice to see the emotional stuff as part of it.
Yeah, that's an
And
interesting
the
take
race
on
was
it, I
boring, so
guess.
you have to
Yeah.
focus on
What do
something.
we focus on? We're
Yeah,
focusing
if the
on
race
all
had been a
these.
bit more exciting.
Exactly. There's like
Mm.
so little big things that happen that it kind of forces you to focus in on the very small interactions and things that we picked
Yeah,
up on and saw. So
yeah.
that
It's kind
was
of like when your headphones die and you start like listening to the birds chirping and think, oh, it's quite nice outside.
yeah.
Same sort of thing.
Exactly. So that's what the Japanese Grand Prix gave us. Allowed us to
Hmm.
pick up on many more subtle things that were going on that weekend.
Mm.
So I guess, I mean, last thing for us to do is to share our meme of the week. So what
Hmm.
is your meme of the week for this race, Sophie?
I think honestly, my favorite one, Oscar just said it on the broadcast in the cool down room. But I don't think that one quite counts. Yeah, so besides Oscar, I saw someone. So, you know how Alex had the funny radio thing where he was like, I don't
Yeah.
know what you guys are doing. Like, and he was like, yeah, kind of having a little outburst. I saw a video of him in the press conference afterwards, and he was kind of like giggling about it, saying like it was blown out of proportion. I didn't realize that was broadcasted. And he said, oh, it must have been a boring race if we're talking about that. But anyway, someone had the his radio message and said it's so much better when you add classical music under it. And so they had like this symphony under what he was saying, and it just made it like so dramatic. And I quite enjoyed that. That was a good find, that one.
That is
What
a
about
funny
you?
one. Well, actually,
Mm,
Alex, I put that as one of my extra points, like talking points
yeah,
potentially, is the fact that we had another sort of like sassy message
yeah,
from Alex. Because there was another one where he was kind of like on the radio too, saying something
yeah,
that was like, oh, didn't expect him to say that. So, same thing. He
yeah.
sounded like so irritated that I just didn't expect him to sound that irritated. So,
Mm,
yeah, no, that's funny. What was mine? I mean, there were a few, obviously, about the tractor and Max and Lando and those gifts, but I think probably the one that I thought was funny, I don't know how to show it to you here, is there's this one with like Mr. Bean sort of just waiting on the side of the road for something, and it says Russell in P5 waiting for some usual mishap ahead so that he
yeah,
can get his free podium. And I was like, yeah,
that's
nothing
a good one.
happened. Like he was
Yeah,
there. He was like sort of,
he was ready.
P5, P4. He's always
Yeah,
just there. And so if anything happens ahead, like he'll be able to obviously capitalize on that. But
yeah.
yeah, he wasn't able to. So he was just like waiting and then just like, oh no. So yeah, that
That's a
was
pretty
my
good one.
yeah, he's just
Nice.
always kind of there. Just you never know
Hmm.
when he'll swoop in and take another P3. So yeah, that
Mm,
was mine.
that's a good one. What race do we have coming up next? It's Bahrain, is it?
Yeah, we got it's triple header, so that was the
Hmm.
Japan one was the first of it, and so we've got Bahrain next coming up. We're basically in race week again.
Hmm.
So
Ooh.
yeah, I don't know what to expect going into this one, and actually I don't want to
Mm.
expect anything because I feel like I'd rather just like have very low expectations and then just see
Hmm.
what happens. What about you?
Pretty good idea. I don't know who I feel like is going to win. I've seen lots of people predict like every week it's been either Lando or Oscar on top, which it does
Mm,
seem to be that way. Now Max is another winner. Someone I think on the commentary team during the last race said Bahrain will be interesting because it's where like lots of the rookies they know the track well because that's where they do the testing. And then it just furthermore the teams know the track well because that's where they do like the tire testing and things in terms of like long running. So hopefully we see a little bit more, just some more action, maybe some more battles, like they sort of know where they can push, where they can't as much, a little more in terms of strategy, maybe like tire management might be kind of interesting in Bahrain. That's sort of all I'm
yeah.
kind of hoping for, just something a little bit different, I think.
Yeah, I'm maybe I am becoming a Ferrari fan because I'm gonna just like actually hope that we see something something
Hmm.
really like a podium for
Hmm.
Ferrari. That would be
Hmm.
amazing where I don't know, they manage to unlock something or just do like a lot better.
Hmm.
I don't know, but it would be really nice to see something positive happen with Ferrari. I think
That would be cool.
Charles finished P4 in
Hmm.
Japan, but he did say it was like a lonely race, for a lot of them anyway. It was just like, you couldn't really catch up with the people in front of you. And
Mm,
but I don't know, maybe they qualify really well. Who knows? And let's see what happens. But I'm hoping for that.
it would be quite cool to have a Ferrari win. I think if there isn't a Ferrari win, then our winners are just going to keep in this pattern. It's going to go Lando, Oscar, Max, Lando, Oscar, Max. And I just think it's going to keep doing that. Or like some of them will get a few more than others. But I
Yeah.
feel like they're the winners they are the winners at the moment, but they seem like they're going to continue to be during the
Yeah.
season.
And then like Kimi and George, like fourth and fifth, kind of like, yeah,
Oh,
if
that
Ferrari
yeah,
doesn't do
they're there on the
something,
podium, I
exactly,
think.
if Ferrari
Yeah.
doesn't do something, then that is what it will be, unless they come around and surprise us and then like, find their form and just like add themselves to the mix. So that would be
Yeah.
nice.
So I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what happens. But yeah, going into it with an open mind, I think, just hoping for something to talk about.
Yeah.
Mm,
Okay, so I think that's about as much as we can do with Japan, and I am very proud of ourselves for actually finding all of those moments and things to talk about from that race. Because yeah,
mm,
I did fall off to sleep. Like I mean, I
yeah.
went back and I watched everything, obviously for this, but in that moment, like so early, it was not that exciting. So.
Hmm.
Hopefully it'll get better than this. But there's 24 races or now like 21 to go, so we're bound to have a few of these.
I think so.
But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you at the next one.